Good morning, everyone. I thought I'd start us out with a little bit of music. Start out with a little bit of reggae and One Love, and then on to We Are the World, which I was just discussing with our guest speaker that possibly y'all don't recognize the majority of those people that were singing. But that was actually done in 1985 or somewhere in that area, and as a benefit to help the children in Africa. And they had the top singers at that time, all of them together in one room, which is hard to believe. But anyway, interesting. Okay, so today we're lucky to have Stephen Webster with us from Jones Bartlett, and he's going to talk to you all about Navigate. Stephen, I'm going to give everybody just maybe 2 more minutes to get here.
Absolutely, no problem.
Okay, I appreciate it. While we're waiting, does anybody have any questions or anything going on that you need to discuss with me? We have maybe a minute or two. Let's see. I don't see anything in the chat. All right. Okay, so remember, we don't have class on Thursday this week. You have projects to be working on, and we'll talk about that later after our guest speaker. And got lots to do to keep things going on. Okay, I'm going to give everybody maybe 1 more minute. Let me see how many we're missing here. No, almost everybody's here. Okay, everybody popped in on time. This is a great class, Stephen. They are on it. So
excellent.
So I am going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Professor Martinez. It's always a delight to talk with your class. We do this, what, 2-3 times a year, something like that?
I can't remember. Twice a year.
Twice a year. There we go. It's that time of year. So welcome to the fall of 2024. I know that Professor Martinez has got a bunch of good stuff up her sleeve for you folks. If I were going back through college again, I think I'd like to be in her class, but I think those days are kind of gone for me. So what I'm going to talk about is the use of the Navigate scenarios for healthcare marketing. And I believe, Professor Martinez, you've got everybody all squared away on how to purchase and how to get that piece of things all taken care of, correct?
Actually, we did it a little different. The bookstore this year charged the students $250 for everything. So we had all their books and all their classes, everything. And so we had a little bit of stumbling block, but I think I haven't heard anybody else complaining. So I think we got it.
Okay, awesome. So to access this, you will log into jblearning.com, and you will go to your My Account page, which will look, wait a minute, I need to share my screen here. Probably should do that for you. Can you flip that on for me, please, Professor Martinez?
Sorry, I forgot. You should have it now.
Right, yeah, there we go. Which should look something like this. Now, I have a whole boatload of courses because I do a whole bunch of demos here, but here is this one right down here, which I'm highlighting right at the bottom of the screen. Navigate Scenario Access for Healthcare Marketing. And when you launch that, you will come to, let's just launch that real quickly for you. You'll see this. Professor Martinez, you're not doing any course ID at all. You're just having folks go to open enrollment, which is this first red button right there. And when you click on that, you will get to the course page. And there are 4 scenarios for you to work on. Professor Martinez will tell you when and where to go to those. And I have opened one of those guys. And there are four of these scenarios: staying relevant, patient engagement, patient satisfaction, and how are we doing. The one I'm using right now is staying relevant. And I just realized I need to do one other thing to get stereo sound for us. There we go. And so what happens with these scenarios is we have a situation that is laid out here for you. And you are a player in the scene, and you are interacting with the people that are on screen here. And the way everything works is there are multiple scenes in the scenario where you will be doing fact finding and engagement with the other characters, and you will listen to and interact with them. And we're going to start with the meeting with the CEO, and that starts with the setup of the situation. You read things over, listen to various things that are provided for you, and then hit continue. And now you're being told who you are talking with, and she wants to discuss a new project with you.
Thank you for meeting with me. I know you're meeting with Amit, our marketing director, after this, but I wanted to give you an overview first before you dig in.
If you are interested, you can turn on closed captioning, which is in the upper left here, which has the text of the scenario of that particular scene
With him.
for you.
I have an important marketing project that I'd like you to work on. We're looking at ways to expand our online marketing presence to reach a larger audience.
And then you are presented with these three responses. Depending on the scenario, and depending on the response, sometimes there is a black and white, absolutely right answer or absolutely wrong answers. It's also quite possible that there are multiple answers that could be right or right-ish. So you're really doing create your own timeline here as you go through. So you could pick any of those responses, which will create another response from Blake. So we're going to click on who is your target audience. This is what you are saying back to her.
Great question. We are targeting our community residents. Many of our residents are in the Generation X and Y categories, and we have also noted many from Generation Z, the individuals born from.
So it's probably a good time to kind of talk a little bit about what are you going to be doing at the end of all of this. What you should be doing as you listen to the scenarios is take notes, think about what's being discussed, think about how you might do various things, and you're on a fact-finding mission. At the very end of everything, you will see that you will have some work to do about making a recommendation. We'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. Professor Martinez, are you doing the quiz within your LMS?
Yeah, we're doing within the LMS, not on here.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it isn't here anymore. We got rid of it.
Oh, okay.
There will also be a 10-question quiz that Professor Martinez will give you around information that is provided during the scenario. The idea here is this is very much a real life situation, and just like other real life situations, things aren't always black and white. There's a lot of gray, and there are a lot of possibilities around your recommendation and whatnot. So you just need to be absorbing the information and then putting your thinking cap on and coming up with suggestions. And as you'll see as we play it on through, and I'm not going to do the whole thing, I'm just going to jump around a little bit here. You will see that you have to come up with recommendations, and you need to glean information from the various conversations and the various interactions that you have on screen here. So we'll go to the second scene, which is a meeting with Amit Patel, who's the marketing director. and then we hear what
Hi,
Amit has to
it's
say.
nice to meet you. I'm glad you'll be helping us improve our online presence. Blake told me she was going to meet with you and give you the high.
So I don't want to walk through the whole thing because that kind of defeats the purpose of doing the work in its proper sequence. But I'm trying to give you an idea of how everything works as you go through the scenarios. Some other things that are worth noting: there is a transcript of everything that's available, and it's in the upper right-hand corner. Click on transcript, and that gives you a PDF, which tells you the characters and the locations and kind of gives you everything that you need to know kind of in a text form if you're not grooving to the video pieces. So just so that you know that that is there. If you will be prevented from moving forward. I've kind of got things, I've already run this all before, so I can jump around and go to various parts of the menu. You do need to take things in sequence. Is that all making sense? Any questions about any of that I've just gone over?
So is this like an assignment or something? Because I don't see it anywhere on the modules.
Well, the assignment piece is at the end where you have a recommendation to do. And Professor Martinez has got the particulars on length and details of what is expected of you. This is delivering the information that where you're going to be pulling stuff from the scenario. And then Professor Martinez has this assignment, which is gleaned off of this last screen of making your recommendation. And there should be an assignment in your LMS course for a written report or a written set of recommendations.
It's under Navigate. I'm not sure who may ask the question, but it's called Navigate, and you have two parts to it. You have the Navigate quiz that you take in the online quiz area, and then you have what Stephen is referring to. You're going to answer whatever task they give you at the end of the scenario on a Word doc and upload that to the assignment page.
And this is an example of that recommendation. This is the instructions to the recommendation that you are going to submit to Professor Martinez in that assignment that she's referring to. So there will be a quiz, which will be in your LMS course as well.
We'll discuss this when after Stephen has explained it all to you. We'll go over it in class.
Is that all making sense to folks? It's not too tough. I think you can probably manage to find your way through this. We've done some work. We started doing this some couple of years ago. We've since streamlined the user interface so that there are some things that are a little clearer for students. And hopefully this is pretty straightforward for you. Questions?
Maybe they're still asleep.
Well, perhaps the tuning up that we did, the tuning up that we did has eliminated some of those gray areas and confusing moments. I will pop back over to the online presence here. This email that you get from Amit is a faux email. So it isn't a real email that comes in, and there are a couple of hotspots in that email which link you to, again, faux social media and a faux website. It's not an actual website. So you'll definitely need to hit those hotspots that are in glowing in yellow here.
You need those to answer the questions that the task that he's going to assign you. Correct, Stephen?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So that recommendation that is being asked of you, now that you've reviewed Bright Rose social media page and website, if you haven't reviewed the social media page and website, you probably need to do that in that email. Here's the website, here's social media.
That's
So you
actually
will
assignment. Correct.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
the
correct.
assignment you'll be doing for your, on the Word doc, for that you'll be submitting as your Navigate assignment.
Correct. Any questions, folks? I'm happy to field them. If you don't have any, I'm happy with that too.
Please ask if you have some, because I know what your assignment is, but I don't know the ins and outs of Navigate. That's why Stephen is kind enough to meet with me in this class every year.
Cool. Well, I wish you all well. Have
Before you
yourself
go,
a
I have a
great,
quick question. Do y'all still
sure.
have the 800 number, or that they can call if they are having issues, technical issues?
Yep, absolutely. And that is right down at the bottom of the page.
Okay.
Technical support, and the support number is right at the bottom of the page here.
Okay, and that's open 8 to 5 Eastern
Monday to
time?
Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 8 Eastern time.
Okay, so they have to rise and shine to get y'all early here.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, we are open till 8 Eastern, so that's, that's 5 o'clock West Coast time.
Right. I know that they used to, it wasn't real successful with the people, when y'all first brought it out, the people who helped y'all with the program, I can't remember who they were, but they had a 24-hour, but at least that's what they claimed.
Yeah,
Do
we're
you
a little
remember?
more buttoned up at this point, so I
Yeah,
think this will work out for you.
y'all actually do much better because they claim to have that, but the students could never get them,
Yep.
So y'all did a great thing by moving it in-house.
Exactly. We're getting good marks on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Cool. Well, have yourself a great fall, and enjoy your class. I'm sure it'll be a good one for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
All
Have a
right.
great week. All right.
Take care, Professor Martinez. Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, folks. Now let's I couldn't tell who was to ask the question, but here's the thing, that if you look on your syllabus, you'll see that the Navigate, and the first one, I don't know if it's due this week or next week, but what you have to do is you have to sign in, watch the scenario, and then you're going to take the quiz, which is on the quiz page for Navigate 1 and lesson 1. And you can take that as the only quiz that you can take. You can take it as many times as you want to till you get to a 20 out of 20 if you want, or however many questions it is. That one allows multiple takes. That's the first part of the assignment. The second part of the assignment is, you saw the assignment that he showed you that had the task where you had to review those 2 links, and then you're going to make suggestions, and that's going to be done on a Word doc. On the you need to be sure you have on what you submit your name, a cover page, and with your name and the information on it, like you would typically have on a cover page. And then the answers will be on the next page. And there are a lot of ways to look at it usually, but some of them are real obvious answers that I'll be looking for. If you're good at thinking outside the box and finding other things that you think could help improve the situation, then I give credit for those also. You can do it as a paragraph, or you can do it as a listing. Like if it asks you, what can you do to improve, I don't know, the waiting room? You could say one, you could list it as in list form, like TVs in the room, or whatever it happens to be. So either way is okay. I'll accept either way. Be sure you show at least, for all the tasks that you're given, be sure you show at least 3 to 4 for each possibilities for answers. There's not a word count, but just be sure you answer it thoroughly. Okay, now do I have any questions on that, on what the assignment is? You do, the first one is, again, navigate one. You'll do the other three throughout the semester. Questions? Did I answer the question that came up a while ago? Wish I knew who that was. Anybody?
Do we need
Okay.
references?
Yeah,
Do we need references or just like
No.
answering the question? Okay.
no, yep, just answer the questions. Yeah. This is what this is I love this activity, and the students usually talk about it in the review at the end. This is an opportunity for you to actually think outside the box, and because it's very possible that when you go into your internships, you'll be given some sort of task like this, and it gets you into that thinking mode, which is really a good thing. It does have to be grammatically correct. And if there is something that is APA in there, it needs to be APA formatted, but you do not need references. Okay, we good? I saw Natalie just came in, so I think everybody's here today but Trin. So, all right, so what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna show you a couple of videos about consumer behavior. I think that it's a really important part of marketing. You really cannot market to the right individuals unless you know who the individuals are, and unless you know what, have an idea of what their needs are. It would do very little good to market a new, let me see, what's a good example of this? A new business that, or a new company that specializes in having babies. Okay, a new doctor that specializes in all sorts of having babies or anything along those lines. You know, your target market would be probably 20 to 40, probably. So to go and market that at a nursing home or assisted living facility probably wouldn't be the best use of your money. So what you need to do is figure out who your target group is and what their needs are. And you won't hit 100% because you've always got the outliers. And if you remember from your statistics that you took, some of you maybe fairly recently, some of you some time back, if you have a graph, it generally will show all the events that happen close together along the line, and that's going to be your typical responses. Whereas you might have one, what they would call outlier, way up in the left or something. So this would be like the 70-year-old woman who talks some doctor into getting her pregnant, you know, through some way, helping her get pregnant through some way or another. That would be your outlier. Another example of that might be somebody, if you aren't looking at healthcare, let's say you're looking at vehicles, and maybe your typical buyer of a hot rod, like a Ferrari, you know, your typical buyer might be middle-aged, high income, but then if you go and look at the chart, you have somebody way up here, which is like somebody that's 80 years old, just came into a bunch of money and bought a Ferrari. They're your outlier. So that is not the people that you want to market to. That's not a good use of your money. You want to always market to your typical target group. Okay, so let me, give me 1 second to pull this, a couple of these videos up. Hang on just a second. Let me go back to where I was. I had to get out of it to get the other stuff going. Let's see. And then it closed itself, of course. All right. Let's see. Okay. Here's the first one. It's a little short one.
research within the field of marketing that focuses on how consumers acquire, use and dispose of goods, services, time and ideas. Consumers can be individuals, families or other groups such as teams and companies. Let's try to understand the importance of studying consumer behavior. Suppose you need a new phone. How would you go about satisfying this need? Where would you turn to for information? How would you set your budget? Where would you buy the phone? These are just some decisions consumers face on a regular basis. Interestingly, each consumer will answer these questions differently based on their backgrounds and some psychological factors. For a company that makes phones, the answers to these questions will help them know the types of phones to design, the price consumers are willing to pay, and where they should sell their phones. It is very important to understand how consumers make decisions, because the best way to create and keep customers is to understand what motivates their consumption decisions and anticipate their consumption needs. Only this way, companies can design products, services and offers that will make their customers happy.
Okay. Then I've got, that one just shows you about consumer behavior and why it's important. The next one we're going to look at talks about the parts that you'll see in your chapter, hopefully you've already read, on decision making. All right.
Decision-making process. To know how consumers make buying decision.
Oh, stop it. I'm thirsty.
Let's get something to drink from corridor.
You talk too much. Thanks God. For the first time you asked something to drink.
My treat. So what do you want to drink? Water, soft drink, cocktail, beer, wine.
I'd like a Coke.
One Coke, coming up. Here you go.
Now I'm feeling better. So where were we?
We were...
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. So where were we? Eric, where are you?
I'm here. I hate you and your burp. I'll never buy you a drink again, I promise.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please, I really need to learn that topic. So where were we?
How consumers make buying decision.
So, how they do that?
Let's recall. Why did you drink Coke?
You asked me, what did I want to drink?
Not this one. Go to the initial stage. Why did you want to drink?
Oh, stop it. I'm thirsty. Oh yeah. I was feeling thirsty.
First of all, you recognize a need. I'm thirsty. Then, you search information you already have to drink water, soft drink, cocktail, beer or wine. You evaluate alternatives in your mind. And after a moment's thought, you asked for the brand, Coke. This is called decision-making process, to know how consumers make buying decision. Now let's discuss it in greater detail, with more examples. First of all, consumers they can evaluate the alternative, then they make decision of what they buy. Finally, they evaluate again after buying whether their decision of buying specific brand satisfy them or not. For example, consumer thinks, I need a car which is safe for my family, so he goes online for search or asks a friend for cars offer safety. After information search, Consumer collect a list of brand to evaluate that, which brand satisfies my need of safety. Volvo, Toyota, Lexus or Ferrari? After evaluating, consumer makes decision to buy Volvo, as he found it's the safest car and satisfied his need. And then, finally, after buying and experiencing the brand, consumer observes whether Volvo is really a safest car or not. What others are saying about my decision of buying Volvo. When Volvo's new model arrives, consumer decide whether to buy the Volvo brand again or not. Based on his post-buy evaluation or experience, he will buy again, if he's satisfied. Here's another scenario. Sometimes consumers pass through all decision-making process, sometimes they don't, and jump directly to buying a brand, just after need recognition. For example, when brands are famous in its category, consumer bypasses all other stages. First of all, he thinks of his need, and then, by the top brand already exists in his mind. Here's the catch. Did you notice? First of all, you think of the category, and then, you ask for the brand.
Yeah.
Consumers also think the same way. They think of the category, and then, translate that category into brand name, to tell what, exactly, they would like to have. This is also the major reason why a brand stands for something, in the mind of consumers. It can be achieved through positioning concept, we learned in previous meetings. World's top branding expert, Al Ries and Laura Ries, wrote in their famous book, War in the Boardroom, the brand is the visible face of the category, but the consumer's first decision is the selection of the category. The brand always follows that choice. Consumer think categories, but they frequently express their category choices, in terms of brands. It might seem like the brand is the dominant decision, when it's not. Here's the summary of today's topic. 1. Marketers need to understand the decision-making process. 2. Consumers love category, not brand. That's why they think of a category first and then brand second. 3. Marketers should also focus on creating a new category first and brand second.
Next episode, why to create the category, not brand. Click like or subscribe.
Okay, so I've got one more to show you that has to do with healthcare and consumer behavior. So let me put it up here. It's a short one. They're not too long anyway. Let's see. Okay.
When starting a healthcare enterprise, the first thing is that you need to understand who your customers are and what their behaviors are. In order to do that, you can start off by doing a market research and understand the healthcare market you are operating in. This includes competitive landscape analysis, understanding the customer needs, understanding the regulatory environment that you're working in. Identifying your target customer means that you have to first define what your customer is, what they look like, what is their age, what is their gender, what is their socioeconomic status. What are their needs, what are their pain points, and what are the key decision-making processes that they go through to get to health. You need to analyze the customer behavior, so understand how the consumer makes healthcare decisions. This will include factors such as how they gather information regarding their health and regarding the services they want. Also understand the impact of technology. So understand how technology is impacting customer behavior in healthcare. So technology such as internet, mobile devices, and artificial intelligence now plays a major role in health. Now, The next thing is that you need to measure and analyze. So measure the effectiveness of your marketing and branding efforts in health. This means that you analyze the data that you're getting from the market. The next thing is that you identify customer trends. So stay informed about the latest customer trends in healthcare. This includes attitude towards health and wellness. This includes telemedicine practices. This includes use of mobile phone apps. Also understand that you need to monitor social media. So get customer feedback from social media platforms. This includes looking at healthcare opinions, identifying any emerging trends on the social media regarding those healthcare opinions. You need to engage with your target market, engage with your market continuously. How do you do that? Through surveys off and on and focus group discussions. Other than that, you can also apply other research methods to gather insight into the behavior of your customers. This could include getting data from their social media. This could include getting data from their insurance provider. Seek professional advice. It's always important to seek professional advice from the market. Otherwise, you will end up making decisions that might not be um, according to what the market need is. So go to research experts, go to industry veterans, and ensure that your understanding of the customer behavior is accurate and it is up to date. In conclusion, it's important to note that customer behavior in healthcare can vary depending on factors, which could include the age, the gender, the income, which could include cultural background. This could include other things such as the paying capacity, such as the person's geography. It could also include the political environment of the area you're working in. So it's important to tailor your strategies to the specific needs and characteristics of the target. So thank you, good luck, and
Okay, so I know that was a poor quality, but what he had to say was pretty important. And it's going to be the basis of a lot of what we'll be doing this semester. It kind of bleeds into several different chapters. Okay, so do we have any questions so far on anything that we've talked about this morning on your assignment with the Navigate, anything like that? Are we doing good? Okay, well, either y'all are, maybe I need to play some uh, more invigorating music in the mornings, get y'all to moving. Okay, hang on just one second. I'm going to get to the PowerPoint. Give me just a second. Okay. Let's see, I've got a little bit extra going on here this morning. Let's see. And I decided to go away. Hang on. Okay, finally, here we go. Okay, so this chapter is on buyer behavior, which is what you just saw a couple of videos on. Really important when you're looking at marketing. It really does no good to spend a bunch of money if you don't understand the buyer behavior. In the last chapter, we talked about how sometimes organizations decide to do something just because somebody powerful in the organization wants them to, like, you know, a doctor wants a new special kind of clinic, even though it's not something that is needed in the community. So it ends up costing a lot of money and doesn't achieve the purpose of what they're looking for. So as we look at buyer behavior, we'll be looking at exactly what they talked about, the 5 processes of your decision making, of the consumer decision making. And if you look at this, you've got problem recognition, which is you have a need. The buyer has a need, and they realize that without this, it's an issue for them. So an example of that might be a difficulty in getting an appointment with a primary care physician. Now, you know, that can be a real problem. That can, if it happens often enough, you know, you might go to looking for another primary care physician. So you have to figure out, you know, how you can fix some of these problems. And maybe that particular physician, you know, has a way of, maybe he'll computerize it, or she will computerize their, you know, their appointments, or, you know, or have some sort of method to not make it so difficult, not leave somebody hanging on the phone indefinitely while you're trying to get an appointment. This can, marketing attempts could influence the desired state by altering perceptions. So let's say that you show a picture of a long waiting line, and, you know, and then you say, but you don't have to do this with us because we're computerized and we don't leave you hanging on the phone, or whatever it happens to be. So yeah, you recognize the issues that the client is having, then you try to address them. And you can start with an internal search, which is that that's when the consumer is seeking a solution to perceived problem, trying to remember other primary care physicians in the industry, or whatever it happens to be. They're trying to come to a solution because they've been put on the phone for an hour, left, forgotten. They can't get an appointment. They really need to see the doctor soon, and it has become very difficult. This is not the first time or the second time, maybe it's the third, fourth, fifth time, whatever it happens to be. So they start looking for answers. Then an external search, then you look for other sources when your internal search doesn't help you. Consumers can turn to Yelp, or one of the other ones is Health Grades, which is a Yelp type website specifically for healthcare. They can look at some of the critical issues, such as what are the benefits relative to the cost of the search, you know, what's it going to cost you in time, etc. What about the people who have internal locus of control over the outcomes? So you're looking more search activities, particularly with patients with chronic health issues. You know, you're looking for, if you have a chronic health issue, you know, maybe you'll look for other people that have some of the same issues, and you can get information from those areas. You know, the web's very powerful. Back in the old days, we didn't have these kind of benefits. Like, you can get on the web and you can find groups for almost everything under the sun, support groups. You can find all kinds of rating groups. You can find, there are many for healthcare. Health Grades is just one of them. There are many others. So there's a lot of places you can look for external searches. In fact, it can become overwhelming. And just as an aside, I can tell you, when I was working on my dissertation, that was when the internet was really just beginning to get really useful in those types of areas. When I worked on my master's degree, we didn't have the internet. You know, we had to go to the library and search for everything. That wasn't pleasant at all. And I can tell you something else just too. When I was in working on my dissertation, we used to have, you couldn't do everything on the laptop or on the PC like you can now. We would have to input the data, and then at midnight, because the graduate students have the lowest priority, we had to go to the data center on campus to get our results. And if you had one little data input error, you know, like one stroke off, then you get back this massive amount of paper telling you that it didn't run because you had an error. So today's world is much easier when you immediately know if you had an error and you can fix it, and you can get your, not have to wait another 24 hours to do it. So all kinds of searches, all those things have really improved due to the power of the internet. Okay, then you go through evaluations to figure out what each one offers, the attributes and not attributes, the things that are the pros and cons, basically. You see it all the time when you see reviews of different, if you go on the web and you see different kinds of products reviews, and they'll tell you the pros and the cons. That's what consumers are doing. They're looking at the pros and the cons and researching, you know, evaluating whether they want to switch, or why they should switch, or why they shouldn't switch, or when they're looking for a new provider, they'll evaluate all the data that's out there that they can find. And that could include, does the person do what they say they can do according to the people who have reviewed them? Does the consumer have a higher cost than other ones? And is it worth the difference? There's psychological risk. How does the patient feel about that particular service or that particular provider? Hey, come on, where'd you go? Disappeared on me. Is there... Okay, so there's you know, several consumer decision models. There's the compensatory, and then there's the non-compensatory. And give me 1 second, I've got to shoot another page over here. The compensatory is choosing from an array of alternatives, as selecting among several pediatricians, and you have to look at attributes when you're looking at pediatricians, like where are they at? What are their office hours? As a young parent, a lot of times, you know, you work 8 to 5 and you can't just take off, or you can't drive, you know, 2 hours to get to an appointment. When my grandkids were very young in Tampa, there was a physician, a pediatrician, who her office hours were, and this is the only time she was open, Friday, I think it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And she was open those hours like 8 in the morning till 5 or 6 at night. So she was able to accommodate almost everyone. If you had weekend jobs, you could go on Friday or Monday. If you worked during the week and couldn't get off, you could go on Saturday or Sunday. She had them after 5, you know, her hours. And once a month, I think she had them like 6 in the morning also. So she only worked 4 days a week, but she had these hours that were very conducive. She had a booming practice because she was meeting the needs of young families. And then you have the non-compensatory, which is based on one attribute regardless of the other attributes. I can give you all a great example of that. Recently, I was looking for a place to live, and most of you know, especially those of you that have had me before, I drive a great big Ford 150 Raptor that is got a little bit of a lift on it, so I can't just park anywhere, you know. So I was having to find a place that could accommodate my truck, and so that one attribute, that was the non-compensatory model, kept me from finding some places that I liked otherwise, but had nowhere to park my truck. So the same thing works, you know, with healthcare. Maybe you absolutely have to have somebody open on Saturdays. So regardless of the other things you're looking for, you know, that they may not offer, you have to just live with it because you have to be able to go on Saturday. So that's the difference between compensatory and non-compensatory models. Okay, then after you choose, everyone has buyer's regret. If you pay, oftentimes, almost everybody has buyer's regret when you, especially a big ticket item. So cognitive dissonance is something that occurs when a choice is made and you suffer second thoughts. You think, should I really have done this? Should I have made this selection? You know, and it can be very worrisome, and some people suffer from it a lot more than others. Some people just say, okay, I made the decision, that's it. But some people second guess themselves till they drive you crazy talking to you about it. So how do you address that? It's pretty tough to address that because that's a personality trait, and some people suffer from it a whole lot more than others. But you have to have ways to, if you're confronted with it by a client, how are you going to respond to it? And then decision freedom is that consumers are happier if they have more choices. No one likes to be forced into one choice for one reason or another. So your decision freedom increases when you have more choices. But what also increases is cognitive dissonance because you have a lot of choices and then you can only blame yourself for making the wrong choice. Okay. Boy, my email's going crazy, binging up the storm. When you're looking at alternative decision-making sequences, that's high versus low involvement. And high involvement tends to represent the risk as for existence as selecting a surgeon. So there's a lot of risks involved. So the level of your personal investment is much higher. When you're looking at a lower involvement, that would be like over-the-counter drugs. You know, it's do I buy the name brand or do I buy CVS brand or Walgreens brand or whatever it happens to be, Walmart brand? You know, the risk is a lot less, so it doesn't need as much research or as much thinking, you know, because it's not going to make a huge difference in the overall outcome. But high involvement is when, let's say you're going to have plastic surgery and you're trying to do something major, like, I don't know, reshape your nose or whatever it happens to be. And, you know, your level of involvement is very high because you want to be sure you get someone that specializes in that particular procedure, whatever it is you're looking for, and that they have high rankings and not too many customers that are patients that have said, man, don't ever go to this person. You know, I ended up with a crooked nose, or I ended up not being able to breathe, or whatever it happens to be. So your level of involvement is much higher when the stakes are higher. And then when you're looking at alternative decision making, you know, sometimes people have brand loyalty, and that means that regardless, they're going to choose a certain brand for a variety of reasons. I don't have it anymore towards JetBlue because they quit flying out of Long Beach, but I used to have a saying that said, if JetBlue don't go there, I don't go there, because they had such great service, and the times were good. They ran on time, but that was brand loyalty. When I went to buy a ticket to Texas, I didn't even go to any other website. I went straight to JetBlue. I didn't look to see if American was cheaper or Delta was cheaper because I was loyal to that brand. And the same thing goes with, you know, with your healthcare decisions. If you've had the same doctor for, you know, 10 years and you've been happy with him, you're not going to go fishing in other waters. You know, you're going to stick to him. You have brand loyalty to that person. Okay, then when you start looking at complex decision making, that's with your high involvement, that again, you're looking at the surgeon. You're going to probably get several opinions, maybe talk to friends who have done it, or you know, look at ratings. You're going to look at all kinds of where they're located at, what's their aftercare, all kinds of things will be involved in that decision before you jump in and go to the doctor, just the first one you find, just because he's cheaper. Because I can tell you right now that I'm not going to be looking for a cheaper doctor, if I'm having something major done. I'm gonna be looking for the best one. Okay, and then you've got the limited decision making is when it's an extended search and low involvement. So, it could be impulse buying. I don't know how many of you have been standing in line at Target. I'm sure everybody. And you're waiting in line, as always, and they have a rack sitting there, and they have, the small size of aspirin, or they have, like a Hershey bar, or whatever it happens to be. You didn't go into that store looking for either one of those things. But while you're standing in line, you start looking and you think, wow, I could use these aspirin in my purse, or man, I could really do some chocolate right now. I've had a bad day, so you pick it up. That's their way of advertising, very, very low key, because it's right there for you, and you typically wouldn't even grab it, if it wouldn't be that you're just standing there. And it's very deliberate on their part. I don't know how many of you ever been to like the Skechers store, where they put you through a maze as you wait in line to buy your shoes. And, it's not like shoelaces and shoe polish and things like that. It's, candy and gum and all kinds of things that a person would not usually go into a Skechers store to buy. But it's there, and while you're waiting in line, you start picking things up and loading your basket. So those are all very limited decision making and very low risk. We doing good so far? Any questions? Okay, yeah, remember, y'all got to holler out, 'cause when I have this thing on, I'm not able to see your hands or anything else. So if you look at this, this is straight from your book, and it's just, it's been around a long time. You're looking at examples for the decision-making model. Your complex, might be an insurance plan that's high, that you're going to have for a while. Your routine might be your primary care physician, brand loyalty. You're just going to, keep on going to that person if they haven't done anything to irritate you. And then your low would be, extended would be variety seeking, over-the-counter drugs. Maybe like one time you might grab one brand, another time another brand. And the difference, typically even in your drugs, that your prescription drugs, the typical difference is usually the fillers, supposedly, between the generic and the name brand, but the price is unbelievably different. And then the other low would be like Band-Aid selection. If you walk in and look for some Band-Aids, you probably are not going to pay that much attention to what brand it is. You want a certain size. You want a round one, or you want a great big one, or whatever it is. And whatever they happen to have, that's what you're going to buy. And the stores are very good at marketing. For instance, I was looking for some Band-Aids not too long ago, but it was at Target. And their brand was eye level, the easiest thing to reach to. But the Band-Aid brand was down on the bottom shelf. You had to bend down and get it from there. So, the typical person would probably just grab what's easiest to get to. So marketing, that's part of their marketing, because they make a lot more money when you buy their brand. Okay, so second. When you're looking at the health belief model, it's based on two principles: is that people desire to avoid illness, and we all do. That's why I get on a plane and I typically will still put a mask on, although I believe that probably it may be just as safe there as anywhere else because of their the system they have, the airflow system. And the other thing is that people will take specific actions to get well. So what the book talks about are 6 things. They say perceived susceptibility is that the person believes at the risk of illness or disease. So the first thing is that the individual believes that they're at risk. The second thing is that the perceived severity of it, and they have feelings about the seriousness of contracting a disease or the consequences if they do. So you can put this into everyday life from a couple of years ago, which all of you remember well, I'm sure, because we're still suffering from COVID. you know, everyone perceived that they were susceptible, and it was a pretty good perception to getting it. So things shut down. People didn't, you know, there were laws saying you had to wear masks if you went anywhere and if you had anywhere to go because everything was closed. I remember I have a friend who lives in Vegas, and you know, as y'all know, I used to drive a limo for a wedding chapel in Vegas, and you know, it runs 24/7. And this friend sent me a picture on a Saturday night, and it was like a ghost town, and it was really kind of heartbreaking to see Vegas. You're like one or two people riding bicycles on the sidewalk. That was it. Everything was shut down. So yes, were we susceptible? Everybody believed they were susceptible. And before the vaccine, there was a pretty good chance you might not survive if you were in that high risk age group. And so you're perceiving that severity is really bad. And then your perceived benefits are, what is the effectiveness of various actions that may be taken to reduce the threat of that illness? Well, you know, when the vaccine came out, people were standing in line by the groves. When I got my first one, they were giving it on campus, and we didn't have a choice whether to get Moderna or Pfizer. It's just Pfizer was what they were offering. And I remember that we all lined up in the parking garage by the pyramid. Cars were just lined up, and you had to have an appointment, and you stayed in your car, and they gave you a shot through the window. And then if you had susceptibility to allergies of any kind, you had to pull over into a parking spot they had for you and sit there for, I think it was 30 minutes to be sure you weren't affected by it. So that was, you know, the benefit was that would reduce the threat. You could still get it, but you might not, you know, it's not so definite that you might actually have lasting repercussions from it. And then you had the perceived barriers. And this is the person may have regarding obstacles in taking the health action. Person, for instance, maybe they're afraid of shots, or maybe they're afraid of having a reaction to the shot, or because the shots were created so quickly, maybe they were afraid that all the precautions weren't taken. So those are like perceived barriers. And then you have the cue to action, which this refers to the factor that actually leads the person to accept the recommended course of action. And there are a lot of different things that can cause you to lead you to accepting it. A lot of different motivations. Mine was that I wanted to get back on a plane because, you know, my family's all in Texas except for my daughter and my grandkids, and they're in Florida. And it was a year, basically, that I didn't leave unless I could go by car. And even then, gas stations weren't open. Can you imagine? I made a trip to Texas, and I was literally running on empty to get from gas station to gas station because there was a while there when even those weren't open. So it literally froze our society, as you remember. And then the final one is self-efficacy. So the final element is the self-confidence that you have made your decision and you're going to live with it. So those are what the book talks about as far as your decisions on whether to go with the cure or not, and how to make your decisions. Again, this came straight from the book. It just talks about the whole process of making a decision. Again, I'm going to go back to a lot of people have trouble with making decisions and not suffering regrets from that decision. And you see it all the time. You know, a good example I can give you is someone goes into a car dealership and they can't go in there to buy just a standard, no, I wouldn't say inexpensive because none of them are inexpensive, but baseline vehicle. And then they get in there with a really fancy salesperson, you know, who's really a fast talker, and talks them into a car that is several levels up from the one they went in for. One that they can qualify for, but they can't really afford. And so they suffer repercussions. They suffer regret, you know, because they buy this car, and then because of that, they can't do other things that they would have been able to do if they'd have stayed within their budget. So, your decision journey can be affected by a lot of things. It can be affected by someone who convinces you, that you should try something. It can be affected by this really burning desire to drive a Mustang instead of a Pinto, or whatever it happens to be. But then you can oftentimes, suffer this cognitive dissonance. So there's also the psychological influences that can affect your decision making, what your motivation is, what your attitudes are, your lifestyle. All these things can affect your decision, and hopefully it will affect it the right way, but sometimes it won't. Sometimes your motivation in particular is completely different than your logical thinking. For some reason, you just, maybe your best friend just got a brand new, I don't know, Corvette, and you know that they don't make any more money than you do, and if they can afford it, you can. So your motivation is not in knowing that you can afford it, but your motivation is that you want to keep up with somebody. It can be a very strong motivation, but you can often suffer from it because you've made a decision that you really can't afford. Then you've got your sociocultural, which has to do with your family lifestyle, with life cycle, which basically goes from childhood to the death of a spouse. And you need different things at different times of your life, and then on to your own death, So different products are necessary for different times of your life. There's family decision making. That's when you look at things as a family and not necessarily just what's best for you. Your social class, your reference group is the higher that your reference group is, the less necessity it is to try to stay within the group. Then you've got culture and subcultures, and that refers to values, attitudes, and ideas that are transmitted from generation to generation. Cultures are very powerful in your decision making, and cultures can be anything. It's not necessarily just the culture of an ethnic group. When I was many years ago, when I drove that 18-wheeler for a summer, I feel like that the people who drive 18-wheelers have a subculture because they live their life a lot differently. They don't see their family as much. They figure out ways to adapt. There's a lot of subcultures within the cultures and within our society that you need to consider, when you're looking at decision making. Okay, I'm going to stop there and stop sharing. I love this chapter on buyer behavior because it's really important that as healthcare providers that you understand the people that you're dealing with, that you understand that your target group is not necessarily going to be like you. And we have a very diverse world that we live in, and when you're dealing with healthcare, people have beliefs and part of their culture that are extremely important to them. An example the book gives is that there are some religions that don't allow women to see male doctors. And if you're working in an emergency room and you only have a male doctor on staff, it's a great temptation by some people who are not culturally competent to just say, look, what is wrong with you? This person is a qualified doctor. He can help you or she can help you. And, you refuse to see them. For what reason? But, it's not your place to question why they don't want to see a male doctor, because that's extremely important to them. Other cultures, want to have their spouse in there with them. There's all kinds of things that are part of their life that you may not understand, but just because you don't understand it doesn't mean you don't value it. So it's very, very important to remember in healthcare, because you will run into people from huge varying cultures. Okay, do we have any questions? It is about 4 minutes till 9:15. Are we doing good? Everybody understand the Navigate assignment? Any questions on that? Everybody's group's doing okay? Everybody asleep? Thank you, Jenny. And Vivian. Okay. I appreciate, at least I know I'm all good. Great. Super, super. All right. Thank you for responding. All right, then. We don't meet on Thursday this week. So is there anybody that has, again, let's one more time, questions about anything that's going on? As you know, whether we meet or whether we don't, every one of you has my phone number. I respond very quickly, unless, there's some reason I'm in a meeting or something and I can't get to it. But typically I respond very quickly. If for some reason you don't get a response from me, text me again, because it could be, la la land with the phone. So, I never get angry if somebody texts me a couple of times, because sometimes it just gets buried because I get a lot of texts. So, okay. Marketing class is on the way, and I am happy to have all y'all in here. And let me know if you have anything, and y'all have a great week.
Professor, I just had a really quick question.
Sure.
Does the class schedule on the Canvas calendar accurately reflect our schedule?
Probably not. I don't do that. Canvas
Okay.
does that of its own accord.
Okay. I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, just the syllabus will always be correct. And if I change anything, like I will never add a date unless there's some extreme circumstance. But if I need to cancel a date, or I decide y'all need the time just to work on your stuff, then I will let you know at least a week ahead of time.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Professor, I got a question for you.
Sure. And Danny, were you the one that asked the question a while ago? So it sounds like your voice.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did ask the question.
I thought it was you, but I couldn't see. So
Yeah, I've been really busy, so I was actually thrown off by the Navigate assignment. And so I opted in for the book, but when I clicked on it today to review the code wouldn't pop up.
it
So
did
what
not.
do I do?
Okay, you opted to the book, okay, so you got the digital book, but you didn't get the code.
Yes.
I need you to call the bookstore and
Do you
tell
have their
them.
number? Because I try to look it up and I can
Sure.
find it.
Give me 1 second and I'll get it for you. I should know it by heart because I call it regularly. In fact, I got a call when I get off this phone. You know what, Danny? Let me just a second. Let me write something down. I'll check for you because I got to call them on another book. So tell me your ID.
Give me 1 second.
Okay. Danny, are you the one that was in the service? Did I remember reading that?
I believe so.
Okay, so
I don't know. I don't know if anyone else is in the class that is. But you
I just
definitely
want to
read
thank
mine.
you for your service. I think, I mentioned to the class that my granddaughter graduated from the Naval Academy. My grandson is a senior at the Air Force Academy, and my son-in-law is a West Point graduate. So we're a very service-oriented
Wow,
family.
that's amazing. Good for them.
So,
It's
okay.
0317111509.
0317111509. Okay, I will
Yes.
check on yours when I call and check on this other one, and I will send you an email.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You bet. All right.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Giselle, do you have a question?
I have a question. For the assignment for the quiz of the what was the name?
Cross-cultural.
Yeah, that one. I had submitted it, but I didn't see your submission, your feedback for the quiz, because I think I didn't realize that I was supposed to put my name. Is there any way I can submit it, even for partial credit for the, even
Sure.
though it's
Sure, I'll reopen it for you.
okay. Thank you so much. I'm so
I'll
sorry.
open it. I'll do it sometime today. I'll open it till tomorrow night. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, Natalie, you got a question? Natalie, are you there?
Oh, no
Hello.
questions. No questions. Have
Okay, I'll be uploading Natalie this as soon as the Zoom comes to me. I'll upload it and I'll send the link out. But you missed the explanation about the Navigate, so you may want to watch like the first 15 minutes of the Zoom when I get it up there.
definitely, and I apologize for coming to class late.
You know, I know life happens.
I know it's unpredictable, but
So yeah, so I will anyway. I should have that up sometime today whenever they send it to me, and then I will send y'all an email.
okay. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. All right. Bye bye.